This is the Down and Dirty Dynasty Fantasy Football Podcast with your host, Nick Anderson.
What is up, Dynasty Degenerates? This is your host, Nick Anderson, with the Down and Dirty Dynasty Fantasy Football Podcast, or as y'all know it, the TripleDFFP. And you guys, I am so excited to have guests with me today. It's a Fantasy Flavor. And, you know, we got what they're bringing today. We're going to be having some battles over some epic players right now. So let's introduce them. What's going on, guys?
Not much. How about you?
Nothing much, man. Long day of work, but ready to get some fantasy football in.
I feel that.
Yeah, I'm doing great as well. Doesn't go much different. I say the same thing every time on our podcast.
Well, tell us about you. Tell us about you guys' podcast, what you guys do, what you guys are good at, all that stuff.
Yeah, so we have our own podcast. So you can find us on all podcast platforms and YouTube channel. We just go by Fantasy Flavor Podcast. And we do a whole bunch of stuff. We're kind of just a generic podcast, but sometimes we'll bring on interviews and guests. We do have some video breakdowns on there too with some fantasy players like TJ Hawkinson. We'll be talking about him in this two-parter here. So it'll be really, really cool, just the content we bring, and we're excited to be working with you today.
Oh, yeah, man. All right, so let's get it started off. The first battle that we are going over today. So we're just going to kick it right off with Anthony McFarland and Antonio Gibson. I'm going to be taking the Anthony McFarland side. Fantasy Flavor is going to be taking the Gibson side. I feel bad for him on this. But let's kick it off, man. Let's hear what you guys got for Antonio Gibson over my boy Tony McFarland, because I just wrote an article about the cat today. So
I saw it. It was a really well-written article. Trenton, what do you got? How about we start off with you?
I'll start off with my player profile, my draft profile that I set up for him. Going in from the film, my player comp was a bigger Christian McCaffrey, but not nearly the same level of talent. So It's a lot worse version, but that's the type of player that you're getting. That receiving, you can put him anywhere on the field. For competition that he has now is Darius Geis, who still has two years remaining on his contract. However, he has only played in 5 of a possible 32 games over his 2-year career. So he isn't there a lot. So there is a lot of potential that Gibson could be thrown in right away and get a lead role early on. And then going on to the draft profile, for some pros for Gibson, I did have that he was very explosive in every facet of the game. He was a wide receiver in college. Mm-hmm. So playing running back in the NFL sets him up to be one of those elite pass-catching running backs you'll see. So he'll be really good in those PPR leagues that you'll see.
Yeah, Duke Johnson was really good at catching the ball, too.
Yep. Showed out at the combine with some amazing speed. He has some good power behind it. Just to show off that, he broke 33 tackles on 77 career touches. Okay. That's insane.
Yeah.
He has some great acceleration, very low mileage, though that is also a negative because we don't know if we haven't seen much. However, he does have all that potential, all that ability to be a 3-down workhorse if he pans out. For the cons, though, as I said, he hasn't played enough for us to really say much. His hips are a bit tight at times in his cuts, but that's fixable. Needs to be a bit more patient in his running style. And the question is,
he's not a running back. I mean, those are going to come. I mean,
right.
When you're not used to carrying the ball 275 times a game, you're going to have a little bit of problem seeing some vision.
Right. But it's also going to be the question of, do they see him more as just a gadget player, because he's never really been set in one role. So I'll move it on to Dylan to give us probably he has some stats and stuff for us. So we'll see what he does.
Yeah, honestly, Gibson. I think Gibson versus McFarland. McFarland's a guy that's got juice, right? Super explosive. But you can't get more explosive than Antonio Gibson, all right?
This is fair.
71 touches, 1,100 yards.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. That's insane. Honestly, he has a 99th percentile speed score, okay? One of the highest of all time. He profiles like David Johnson. This guy is 6 foot, 228, big dude. And he runs a 4.39. All right, that's some freak athleticism right there. And he's raw and he's high upside, but I like his situation a lot. I get it, Darius Geis is super talented and he's there, but the guy can't stay healthy, okay? We might have played the same amount of career games, and I'm here at home, and he's there on the NFL field. Just Adrian Peterson's there. He's old. Peyton Barber, just a guy. So I think the draft capital matters
Hey,
here,
don't
too.
shit on my boy Bryce Love, man. He's coming for you.
Yeah, well, Bryce Love, he can't stay healthy either. I
I know,
if
but
he's
I'm
got
telling you,
knees.
he's one of those guys. He's one of those guys that's going to sneak up on you, though. If he wouldn't have got hurt, his draft profile would have been a lot different than what it was.
I agree.
For
But
sure.
but if the ACLs can't stay healthy, he can't be on the. That's what matters. Even though this backfield is crowded, it's going to be crowded for 4 weeks until it all goes down. And then Norv Turner, remember, Trenton just compared him to Christian McCaffrey. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Norv Turner was the offensive coordinator at Carolina. So how are they going to use him? They're going to use him exactly like Trenton said. Maybe not anywhere close to the production, but listen, Antonio Gibson, man, he has good draft capital. McFarland was a day 3 pick. To me, it's easy. Go with the guy who the team trusts more. And the Redskins drafted Gibson earlier than McFarland was drafted. So for me, that speaks volumes. What do you got? What do you got from McFarland, though?
I mean, it does speak volumes about a great wide receiver, he's a really, really good wide receiver. I'm going to emphasize the word wide receiver. I'm just saying, we've got guys like Duke Johnson that have came in that have been able to play out of the slot, and we've seen how they fizzled out. Now, Duke Johnson is not near the physical specimen that Antonio Gibson is, but I'm just saying, you were talking about a David Johnson, one of those guys. Look where he's at right now. He had one great season mixed with a bunch of blah and a bunch of hype. There's a good chance that this guy might be all hype and no sizzle, But we're looking at a guy like Tony Mack, my boy Anthony McFarland. Like I said, I wrote an article about him today, so you guys got to go check it out. But he's coming out after his redshirt sophomore year in Maryland. So he's still only 21.8 years old, which is a huge boon. You get that young player influxed into an offense with a 4-year contract. And then you go look at the backfield that he's walking into. He's walking into a cluttered backfield, similar to what we were just talking about, sans injury. I guess James Conner still has a lot of injuries, but nothing like Geis level. But he's going into this Steelers backfield with James Conner, who's got 1 year left on his contract. He's injury prone. He's not as good as everybody sells him out to be. And then we've got Jags. We've got Benny Snell. We've got Jalen Samuels. And then you get this just explosive Anthony McFarland. You want to talk about comps? Let's talk about who his idols are. His idols are Christian McCaffrey. His idols are Alvin Kamara. And this guy has the juice to back it up. He can turn on a dime. He ran a 4.44. So, it's not that 4.39, but we're still talking about blazing speed here. And he's got the power to back it up with the vision and the experience that comes with being a career running back.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but here's the thing. The Redskins, they announced Antonio Gibson as a running back. So you can keep calling him a wide receiver, but they're going to use him as a running back. I don't care what you think he is. I care what the Redskins think he is. Okay, you're not the one calling the plays for him.
I know gadget player is a scary idea, though. Mm-hmm. Gadget player is a detriment to an offensive player. It hinders both their receiving and their rushing yards when they use them in that way, unless it's a Christian McCaffrey or an Alvin Kamara.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fair.
I did kind of talk about this to one of my friends a few days ago, though. Gadget players are becoming the thing in the NFL. Gadget players are getting a ton of touches. You look at those guys that they'll put in the backfield, all that stuff. Antonio Gibson is that next guy. He's like, you look at Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill, they use him as a gadget player, and he also puts up amazing numbers as a wide receiver. You can look at running backs. You can look at McCaffrey. Sure, he gets running back volume, but he also gets wide receiver volume. He is a running back, but he is used as a gadget player. He moves all over the field. You don't know what he's going to do. That's the definition of a gadget player. That's Antonio Gibson's style. That's where he's going to fit. And as you said, as Dylan said, there's all of the issues for the injuries on Washington. All those backs, they can get injured. Anything can happen. It's a lot less of that concern for in Pittsburgh. You have, sure, James Conner might get injured, but then after that, it could be a committee. You don't know.
Benny Snell and Jalen Samuels might as well be injured.
But in Washington, you could have all 5 of those other backs go down. Every single other back on that roster has had injury issues in the past. Antonio Gibson was injured a few times in college, but he played through those injuries. It shows his toughness, and he's going to be on the field every week.
So the question is, let's talk about the scope of the Redskins passing attack, okay? So, I mean, we're looking at a subpar Dwayne Haskins out there that hasn't shown the ability to produce. And in the last 4 to 5 years, they haven't shown the ability to be able to have a high-flying passing attack in there, okay? So we're looking strictly at, if we start to narrow it down, saying that he might not have the juice, get that kind of production, that kind of workload out of the backfield with the passes. We talk about we have to start hammering him up the middle. Are you guys saying that? I know that we talked about 33 of 77 tackles broken on rushing yards, but I mean, those were plays that were engineered for him to be out there in unique one-on-one situations where it's hard to make an open field tackle. Now we're talking about going banging in between the tackles, play in, play out. Can he A, sustain, and B, does he have the ability to be able to be a rushing back or a running back like that?
I'll give you another player comp, actually, to kind of counter that, because
Okay.
I was thinking about it, and sure, McCaffrey is a decent comp. They're the same style player. I think he projects really well as that Austin Eckler behind Melvin Gordon role.
Mm-hmm.
And Eckler was still a really good running back behind Melvin Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
So you have all that, and so he should still have that really high upside. He has that potential. He has that style. He has what you want. You can split him out wide. You can do whatever. You can have Darius Geis and even Adrian Peterson out on the field at the same time while also putting Gibson out there, and any one of them could touch it. You don't know what's going to happen. They're going to use him. They want to use him. They have, as you said, Norv Turner, who has used McCaffrey. And I think they're going to look. That's why they drafted Gibson. He wants that style of running back on his team.
I can say this, though. I understand the angle that we're taking with the Calf and Gibson thing, but there is no comparison to McCaffrey's collegiate production in comparison to Antonio Gibson's production. What he is going to be used for as a running back, and what his focal point of his collegiate career was not a running back. And so we're coming in and tossing him, into a system with NFL caliber players in systems that aren't going to be engineered to get him exclusively in one-on-one programs, that he's going to have to bang it up the middle. That is something that's going to be foreign to him in the greatest stage on earth.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. I think you're putting too much stock. Sir, Gibson has his risks, but McFarland has just as many risks himself. Okay, we're talking about 2 running backs here that are probably going the second round of rookie drafts.
Mm-hmm.
These running backs have like a 10% hit rate.
Right.
So why not swing for the fences with Gibson, who has the highest upside of potentially any running back in this class? Why are you going to settle for the floor? You know what I mean? And you're here like, oh, McFarland's going to get work, because James Conner has probably been the best running back out of all the running backs we're talking about between the Redskins backfield and the Steelers backfield.
That's
James
fair.
Conner's had a good year. Darius Geis has just been a hype train based out of college. But
James Conner only has 1 more year left with the team.
Yeah, you don't think they're going to grab somebody else? 4th round draft capital. There's not many 4th round good running backs out here for Dynasty. Maybe they'll be 1-year wonders until they're replaced. Draft capital matters.
We've talked about Austin Eckler, who was an undrafted free agent.
Yeah, and I have my own concerns about him, okay? As you could tell with that kind of logic.
Joe doesn't like him. I'm the one that likes him, so.
I've got mad love for Austin Eckler. I think that his rise to fame is a testament to how hard he works, not how talented of a running back he is. I think that guy has overcame adversity through sheer will as opposed to being the most talented player on the field. And so I got to give a standing ovation to him for that shit, because he's not one of the best running backs in the NFL, yet he's producing as one.
Yeah, definitely an awesome receiving back there. But listen, they're all close. I'll agree. Trent's kind of arguing for you. Here's some cons for Gibson. I didn't know I was getting 2v1 here. To be honest, I thought he was my co-host, not yours.
I have to bring up the cons, because you have to bring up the cons for both players. I can give you my cons for Anthony McFarland if you want.
Hey
Yeah,
man,
it is.
I mean that was sort of your job, but I'm not gonna trash on my guy.
I wasn't bringing up.
I'm
the
not
film.
trashing on my guy either. Try not
But
to
say-
trash on both of them.
I'll
But
give
see,
you the
you know-
cons. Here
You know
we
what?
go.
Since we haven't gotten to those, let's move on to the next player set.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the next ones that we're going to be going on to is Kenny G versus AJ Brown, and I've got the Kenny Galladay side. Y'all got AJB. Let's hear what you got for him.
You want me to start again?
Yeah, sure. I kind of like if you want.
All right. So I'll give you his rookie season numbers real quick. I don't really have that draft profile much anymore. I lost most of my draft profiles for rookies last year when I switched stuff around.
Okay.
However, in his rookie season, his stats were pretty extraordinary. He had 52 catches on 84 targets, 11 starts, 16 total games played, over 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns. He also ran the ball 3 times for 60 yards and another touchdown there. So he does have potential rushing ups. He can run the ball. I think they might try to use him more in that role because he proved that he could on minimal touches. So they might use him more in that. Competition-wise, he has Corey Davis, who isn't that awe-inspiring. You haven't seen much of him. He's been decent, but we haven't seen enough of him to really prove that he's going to take a lot of volume. Adam Humphries, who was everybody's favorite buy-late guy in the fantasy drafts last year and absolutely did not work out. Jonnu Smith, who is a good tight end. I really like him. He's one of my favorite sleeper tight ends in fantasy. And then potentially Darrington Evans, the running back they drafted. He could get a little bit of volume. But none of those names really jump out as much as A.J. Brown. And sure, it's a run-based offense, but A.J. Brown, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets half of the team's total targets because he's just going to get that much volume for compared to those guys. Those guys aren't going to command that much volume to really take away from him.
That's fair.
The great stat I have for him, I know this has been pushed around a lot, and everybody probably knows that, but he averaged 20.2 yards per catch last season, which was good for second in the NFL. So he is crazy with the ball in his hands. He's not just a deep threat. He caught a lot of deep balls, sure, but he also caught some slants that he took for long ways. And so you look at that, and you look at once it gets over, in my opinion, that 17, 18 yards per catch, that means he can catch the deep ball, and he can also catch the short route and take it for a long run because you don't have those canceling out. If you're looking at it, you see that guy that catches 5 yard, 6 yard, 7 yards, and then he catches an 80-yard, and then another couple 6, 7 yards. That cancels out. That brings it all the way back down to like around 14 yards per catch.
So are we predicting a repeat of 20 yards per catch next year?
I'm not.
I feel like there's got to be a regression coming.
There is going to be a regression, but I'm not saying. I'm saying that he is that dynamic player that can take it to the house every single time he touches the ball, and he's going to get even more volume next year and touch the ball even more. He could take it at any time. He could catch 80 balls and score 80 touchdowns. That's how dynamic of a player he is. He just because he's a threat to score.
Right.
For the long-term outlook, though, he is their wide receiver 1 for the long term. They haven't really added competition. I don't see them adding much competition for that wide receiver 1 role on their team because he was that good in his rookie season. He also does have a great connection with Ryan Tannehill. So I really like that going for him. And overall, for the long term, he is that top 10 dynasty wide receiver. He's extremely young, got a long ways to go, and really looking up for him.
Right. And so, I mean, there are very few things that we can say about A.J. Brown that are contrary, negative towards him. Because A.J. Brown he had a phenomenal rookie season. He is great, okay? But he is great in an underwhelming Tennessee Titans passing attack that focuses on Derrick Henry first and foremost, and the offense runs through him. As opposed to that, we've got Kenny Galladay, who finished sky high last year without Matt Stafford. And I can guarantee you this, Matt Stafford is a competitor if he is nothing less, and he is going to be coming back this year, a full season with Kenny G. And so, I mean, where Kenny G scored crazy points last year, I see him soaring to even higher heights with Matt Stafford for a full season.
Yeah, I definitely think both are going to be really good. Listen, I feel like with these debates, these players are so close. I want to regard this to the audience because I feel like if I trash on one guy, I hate him. No, I like them both. I like both these guys. This one's tough. But
Touché.
AJ Brown. Okay, here's the thing. I believe Kenny Galladay's 27 or something like that. AJ Brown's like 22. So listen,
26.6 to 22.9.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So he's turning probably 27 by the time the season starts. I believe that's an August or September birthday. So right, we're dealing with 27 versus like 23. Okay. So there's 4 years different. So there's a question I want the audience to ask themselves here. Is their production going to be close enough to the point where I'd rather have a player who's 4 years younger and is going to give me 4 more years of prime production? And I think that answer is yes. I do get the regression. I do get he's going to drop down from 20-point-something yards per catch. But he also has predictivity on his side. Okay, yards per route run is one of fantasy football's most predictive metrics year to year. He ranked second in most yards per route run. A.J. Brown here at 3.46. Okay, so A.J. Brown is set up for future success. He's in a historic category. He had 1,000 yards as a rookie. Most of the guys that do that, unless you're Kelvin Benjamin, okay, and he's not Kelvin Benjamin, are fucking fantasy studs for like years and years to come. That's the guy I want to chase. Galladay isn't bad. But I think the production is going to be close enough, even if A.J. Brown does fall down on a lesser passing attack, that I'd rather have those 4 extra years, of great production. And that age matters in Dynasty.
So we had Kenny Galladay in half-point PPR, finished number 6 last year, okay? I think that there's a legitimate chance that he could top the numbers that he performed with last year. What are we saying is a realistic, finishing spot for A.J. Brown this season in half-point PPR?
If he stays healthy and Tannehill stays healthy, I don't know why he can't finish top 8. He was top 3 once Tannehill and him had that thing. I get the regressions coming too, and the playoffs look awful, right? But the volume is going to be there. Even if it's a low passing volume, what's the percentage A.J. Brown's going to get? There's no other weapons there that are good. And listen, here's the thing too. Derrick Henry kind of gets hotter as the year ends too. A.J. Brown could blow up earlier in the year too, and then maybe he'll kind of fizzle out then. But A.J. Brown even got better as the year progressed too.
Right.
A.J. Brown likes it when they pound that much because the play action gets down there, and that's how he's getting 20 yards per catch because he's a big play guy. They all help each other.
I just for me right now, it's kind of the argument. So, and I've made for and against this argument about like with Julio Jones, talking about the shelf life of an elite player that we know is going to finish in, top 10 for the next 3 to 4 years. Now, Kenny Galladay is only 26.6, so I think we're talking about his demise a little bit early here. But I do agree with you that A.J. Brown has the youth on his side. He's got the years. But when we're looking at just success of a wide receiver, apples to apples, about who you would rather have. And we're not talking about redraft here, but I'm talking about a 3-year window, 3-4 year window. I'm telling you, I got to go with Galladay. I got to go with Stafford. I can't go with A.J. Brown and Tannehill.
I get it. I'm taking the most talented player. And A.J. Brown, 1,000 yards as a rookie. That's incredible. His rookie year was like on par with like what Randy Moss did, just not as obvious. I'm not calling him Randy Moss. Okay, I want to make that clear. But honestly, just kind of those roles are similar. AJ Brown, you have to get AJ Brown in your dynasty team. I get Kenny Galladay. I'm not saying Kenny Galladay is going to be done in a year. That's ridiculous. But AJ Brown has that youth on us. AJ Brown's the sexy Lamborghini. You can go with your boring old Galladay. I'm gonna take the sexy, the sweet ride, baby, because that's how we do it on Fantasy Flavor.
So where does AJ Brown finish in your dynasty rankings in 2020?
Where is he ranked? Right above Galladay. What spot?
So what spot is that?
They're all close for everybody. I can pull it up right now. I believe AJ Brown is my 11 and Galladay's my 12. So I like them both. Like I said, I preface it, I like them both. And I don't know how high you are, Nick, truly on AJ Brown, if you're just bashing him because you have to bash him here for the segment. But
no, I've actually got him
both for Dynasty.
I've got him very similar to you in rankings AJ Brown. That is, AJ Brown is my 12, but Kenny Galladay, man, he's my number 7. I love me some Kenny G.
Let me come back with the counter to Kenny Galladay because I didn't really give you the cons for your own guy last time.
Let's
so I'm gonna make sure I do it this time. Did you guys see the tweet from Evan Silva earlier about 20 hours ago or so?
Maybe Marvin Jones. Lay it on the strand.
Marvin Jones versus Kenny Galladay's in their last 16 games. Kenny Galladay's last 16 games, he had 65 catches for almost 1,200 yards and 11 touchdowns. compared to Marvin Jones, 78 catches for just over 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
So he has that competition there. A.J. Brown doesn't have the competition. Galladay has a guy that we don't even know if he is the actual number one wide receiver on that team. That could be a 1A, 1B. Though those guys are a toss-up. You don't know. And A.J. Brown is just that clear-cut guy. That's why I like him so much. He's clearly going to be the top guy on that offensive passing game.
I cannot argue with him being the focal point of the offense. There's no argument to be made about that. He is clearly the focal point of the passing attack. He's not the focal point of the offense because Derrick Henry is leaps and bounds the focal point of that offense. But when we're looking over at the Lions, I just think that Stafford is, head and shoulders above Tannehill and what he can produce out there on the field, what he can do, how many wide receivers he can sustain at a time. I think that there is going to be a drop-off next year with the Tannehill-AJB connection, and it's more just a gut feeling. I can't quantify it, but I don't think that it's a problem of A.J. Brown's skill set. I don't think that it's a matter of how good or bad of a wide receiver he is. I just know that I've seen time and time again what Matthew Stafford can bring to the table and what he can do with wide receivers, and I haven't seen it with Ryan Tannehill to be able to guarantee that link-up with AJB is going to be there.
Yeah, I get it. As long as Stafford doesn't have the same back as my 70-year-old grandpa, I think we're going to be A-okay there.
See, I want to counter that because you did say the running game is the focal point of the Tennessee Titans offense.
Mm-hmm.
It could actually be shifting. We could see a shift for the Lions to a run-based offense because they just drafted DeAndre Swift to pair with Kerryon Johnson. It's going to be a lot of – or they could shift for that. So we'll have to see where that goes.
Yeah, those are all hypotheticals, though. We can't argue with those. All right. So, basically, these guys are both fucking great. They're phenomenal wide receivers. You'd be happy to have them on your dynasty team. Kenny Galladay's way better, but no worries. Let's get moving on to another Tennessee Titan and a Colt. So we're going to be going Derrick Henry versus Jonathan Taylor. I'm taking the Derrick Henry side. It's not the side I wanted, but we'll go with it for the sake of argument's sake.
I know. We had to kind of put you on the spot here for your own pod. So we can't make it easy on you. We got to work on that. So I'll actually start off here with Jonathan Taylor, if that's okay. Trent loves the guy. I don't know if you see the Colts t-shirt, but he wasn't the biggest Jonathan Taylor guy before, but once you landed on the Colts, it was over. Where do we start? Jonathan Taylor is one of the best lines in football, man. Okay, and that matters. Offensive line production is so heavily correlated to how well a running back does each year, and he's going to get used a ton. This guy had 2,000 scrimmage yards every single year in college. One of the most prolific college running backs of all time, okay? Mm-hmm. And the fact that he's there in the second round for the Colts scoop up, trade up, snipe them Jacksonville Jaguars, and grab them, that's incredible. Honestly, his speed, the dude runs like a 4.4 flat, okay? At 227 pounds. Okay, here's the thing. I don't even need to make much of an argument for him. Do you guys like Nick Chubb? Because he is literally a clone of Nick Chubb, except put on the Colts, not competing with Kareem Hunt, only competing with some guy named Nyheim Hines. I don't know. That sounds like an alien, dude. I don't even know if that's a real player. Obviously it is. But listen, Jonathan Taylor's a smash, especially if people are worried about the passing volume. Phillip Rivers checks down to his running back so much, one of the highest rates last season. And consider the fact that Melvin Gordon, also out of Wisconsin, wasn't known as a pass-catching back. Phillip Rivers fed him, and he became that back. I hate to agree with you on this, but Melvin Gordon is not a pass-catching back, if anybody doesn't know that. He might have had a lot of production in the passing game, but he is not an elite pass catcher. There is a myth about that because he got fed so fucking much by Phillip Rivers that he's a pass-catching back. But Jonathan Taylor will catch circles around Melvin Gordon, in my opinion. Exactly. This is great. You're arguing for me. I just need to drink my water. You got it for me. But I'll open up to one of you guys here, dude, if you want to rebuttal or try.
I'll take my rookie profile because it's another rookie. Yay, my favorite. All right. You did take my player comp already, so screw you. But Jonathan Taylor is Nick Chubb. Competition-wise, he does have, you said, Nyheim Hines. There's also Marlon Mack there. He has a year left on his contract, though, so he won't be there long. But looking at him, he's not that great of a running back. He's a decent running back, but he's not great. He still put up 1,000 yards in 2019. So with a great running back in Jonathan Taylor, you have to look at that's going to be some insane numbers he's going to put up. If not this year, then the year following, once he finally takes over that clear lead workhorse role. However, going in right away, Marlon Mack, we know, isn't a receiver. They do have Nyheim Hines, but there will still be that opportunity for Jonathan Taylor just because Marlon Mack isn't going to be catching passes.
Right. Sorry, go ahead.
Draft profile-wise, pros for him, he was extremely productive in that workhorse role. We know he's productive in that workhorse role because we saw it in college. And it was insane production over 3 years. The most yardage ever over a 3-year span in college football history. He did show better pass-catching skills in 2019, so he definitely improved in that area. He has great speed, great power. He follows his blocks amazingly well, which, as a Colts fan, I'm going to love seeing him following Quentin Nelson on those runs to the outside on those poles. This is going to be so much fun. And he has great acceleration. The cons, we all do know. I have to point out the cons. We do know he has those ball security issues, but that's kind of overblown. I think he fumbled on 1.9% of the time in college. He just had so much volume. So that's where that number comes from, 1.9% of the time. Compare that to Derrick Henry last year, the leading rusher, who fumbled on 1.6% of carries. So it's not that insane. It's not that far-fetched. But sure,
yeah, but he is having it stripped from NFL defenders instead of collegiate defenders. So,
yeah.
I mean, it is a little bit different.
It is also somewhat concerning that he didn't show that pass-catching skill set prior to 2019. But he definitely showed out enough in 2019 that I'm feeling confident that he can come in and catch balls, if only on screen passes and some quick dump-offs. He should be fine. The one major issue that I have with Jonathan Taylor, which is why it's a toss-up between these two guys in the first place, is does he have too much wear and tear on him already, just coming from college? Derrick Henry does have that wear and tear too, because he's played so much.
Does he, though?
He does.
How many career carries does Jonathan Taylor have in college?
Around just over, I think 923.
I think it's 932. I think is what it is.
Mix them up.
Derrick Henry has 1,400 in his collegiate and NFL career. If we are predicting that Jonathan Taylor is going to be a 275, 300 carry back in the NFL, then he is going to catch Derrick Henry's career numbers at this point in his career, 2 years into his NFL career.
Yeah, but there's still Derrick Henry is ahead of him in that regard.
I understand, but I'm saying that, I mean, but also, I'm just saying Jonathan Taylor is not 6'3", 247. He's not a brick shithouse of a man.
And he's
such a brick shithouse, it's coming out of the back of his head.
Man.
But so let's get into it. Let's talk about the player comp for Derrick Henry. I'm joking. There isn't one. There is no player comp for Derrick Henry. He is a wholeheartedly unique player in the NFL. But no, I agree with everything that you said. I love Jonathan Taylor. Coming into the pre-draft process, he was my number one running back. Obviously, he got beat out, but my boy Clyde Edwards-Helaire now, got to get my Kansas City Chiefs going. But I got mad love for Jonathan Taylor. But with Derrick Henry, man, I mean, 6'3", 247 pounds, like we were talking about with the wear on the tires, people think that Henry has like this massive workload over the whole course of his career, but he only has 1,400 carries over his collegiate and NFL career because he had to sit second fiddle to guys like DeMarco Murray and them for a while. So that was something that he had to sit down and be benched for a little bit. But I mean, now that he's up and rolling, he is a Mack truck that is just going to plow through everybody. I mean, 1,550, I think it was, rushing yards last year. The guy is just phenomenal, and I don't see any sign of stopping in him. I mean, I don't see any breakdown, any wear and tear for him. Now, that being said, I do have to be honest here, guys. I have him 2 spots below Jonathan Taylor in my dynasty rankings. It's a young man's game, you know, and I got mad love for Jonathan Taylor. Go ahead, guys.
I appreciate it. Now, here's the thing. I kind of want to debunk one of the myths that both of you guys have here. Okay, so Dr. Edwin Porras here of Fantasy Points. He's a professional doctor, probably knows more than all of us. He did a study.
I read it today, too.
I know it's coming. And he did a study. You can check out his tweet. I'm not going to, do his work for him. He put in the work. I feel like you guys need to read his tweet. And the study came out. It turns out the college volume does not affect NFL running back durability. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's one layer of it. Then the other layer of it is, even though Derrick Henry's had all these touches in just college and NFL combined, the dude ran like 400 plus times in like high school, like every year. Like that, like those high school carries do matter too. So let's not exclude those out.
But did you also see him running against those players? If it's like me, I'm a 6 foot tall, 260 pound man. It's like me going and running against my 9-year-old son's football team. Like it wasn't. No, those don't matter, because he was just crushing people. He was crushing their bodies and their souls and their grandfather's souls all at once.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I get it, but the final thing that matters is if those college carries those high school carries have to matter. It can't be a good thing. You can't act like that's like a good thing. It has to be a little bit of a negative. But the final thing here is Derrick Henry's franchise tag. We don't know his long-term outlook. If he goes to any other team than the Titans, that's a big stock for him, and that's why we all have him lower than Jonathan Taylor, because Jonathan Taylor has 4 years with the Colts in that great offensive line. Mm-hmm. And Derrick Henry, we have 1 year, and we don't know. I feel like if they wanted to re-sign Derrick Henry, they would have done it earlier, because we see how punishing these running back contracts are long-term. Like Gurley, he was released. Zeke might be released in a few years if they need cap space for Dak. You know what I mean? It's just like they would have signed him to a long-term deal already, like CMC happened with, if they wanted to keep Derrick Henry. So I think he's gone there, and that's why you have to have Jonathan Taylor higher in your rankings.
I do completely agree with it. My rankings indicate that. But let's not undersell Derrick Henry and his massive upside, So everybody that we've talked about today, they've just been fun players. What we're actually going to do right now is we're going to jump over to Fantasy Flavors podcast, and we're going to be doing a whole nother 3 rounds of debate. Let me give you the players that we're going to be going over on there. It's going to be... So over there, we're going to be talking about Noah Fant versus TJ Hawkinson, Kerryon Johnson versus DeAndre Swift, and my boy Mecole Hardman versus Darius Slayton. So that's going to be over on Fantasy Flavors podcast. So guys, tell them where they can find you on YouTube so they can go find you over there, and I'll hit it up in the link as well.
Yeah, so you could just type in Fantasy Flavor onto YouTube, and Fantasy Flavor podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, you name it, Podbean. We're probably on there. We're on everywhere. So.
Hell yeah, man. And as always, guys, thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate every subscription. I see every single one. So just keep grinding with me. Thank you guys for it. I hope you like my takes. I hope you don't like their takes. But if you don't, fuck it, because I'm drunk.